My name is Maddie Burns, and this is my video for how I will use classroom management in my class someday. To start off, my philosophical beliefs would be that everyone has a right and a need to learn and grow, no matter what level you begin at or what advantages or disadvantages you may have in your life. Everyone has the right to learn and grow. I also think that students need to be active participants in their learning, and that's not just physically, but it's also mentally too. They need to be um, proactive about involving themselves, and also I need to be proactive about making sure that they're involved and engaged in everything we do, whether that means physically or mentally or both. I think that students also need to have timely feedback to improve. If you give a test or even just a worksheet and you don't give feedback, it's hard for the students to know whether or not they've actually done it right or if they've messed up a part of it, or they can go on believing that they did it 100% correctly and something's not right in there. So it's important to give timely feedback. Students also need structure and repetition to learn. If they hear it once, it's going to disappear, and if everything is chaotic, it's very, very hard to listen and truly grasp a concept. Students also need to feel included, welcomed, and valued. Everyone in a classroom should feel like they belong, and everyone should feel like they have a say and that their voice matters. Learning should also be fun and interesting. If it's not fun, no one wants to do it, and you've already lost half the battle right there. To create a safe and inclusive classroom, I will rely on schedules, routines, and procedures to be consistent and allow my students to know what to expect each day from me and from our schedule. I'd also like to maintain a clean and organized classroom. It's much easier to think and focus and learn when things are organized and where they need to be. I will also be consistent in my teaching and my attitude so that students, again, know what to expect and there are no surprises. And I will also acknowledge and teach social cues and expectations, one of which would be like a greeting in the morning. When someone walks in, you say good morning. Or also if someone asks you to stop doing something, you stop. And these are just social cues and expectations that students need to learn. I will also be adaptive to students' specific needs and requirements. This would be anything from physical modifications or changes in levels to meet students at different levels of their understanding and learning, or any of a number of things, whatever a specific student may need at any given time. I will also facilitate the creation of a classroom community, making sure that everyone in the classroom knows one another, feels comfortable talking to each other, and can build that community feeling together. I also think it's very important to have culturally relevant lessons, supplies, and topics. Not just addressing one specific view on a topic or one specific holiday even, just really incorporating everyone and what they bring to the table. The influence of teacher language is huge, and it's so much more than just the words we use. It's how we say them, it's what types of words we use, and it's also the body language we have while we speak. These things can give students huge cues into how we're feeling and how we feel about them and how we feel about the topic. And it's very important for students to know that they're supported and appreciated, and there is a reason to be excited about what they're learning about. And one quote I really enjoyed from the article, The Power of Our Words, was, "We cannot teach a lesson, welcome a student into the room, or handle classroom conflict without using words. Our language can lift students up to their highest potential or tear them down. It shapes how students think and act, and ultimately how they learn." And I thought this just wrapped up the idea of that very well. Social skills and routines that I would like to teach in the first few days of school would be the concept of having greetings and things like morning meetings each day to get to know one another and build that community feeling. Another way to do this would be get to know you games or activities. These can be verbal, written down, drawn, all sorts of different things. They can be acted out. There's tons of different ways you can get to know someone. I would also like to practice and model various routines for the classroom, which can be anything from walking in the hallway, going to the bathroom, having the students know what to do when they arrive in the morning, returning or checking out library books, asking questions, when to sharpen pencils, all of those little things that you wouldn't really think about, but if you plan them out in advance, it helps your year go much more smooth. We will be frequently practicing these things for the first few weeks and then when needed again after. And I would also like to discuss what not only does each routine look like, but also what they sound like. So whether they should be quiet or there's a loud some talking, just what it sounds like and looks like. And we would also be creating and learning our classroom rules and core values during this beginning time. And to do that, we would develop our classroom rules and expectations by including students in the creation. And to do this, I would allow students to create their own list, then collaborate with other classmates to shrink down their list, typically to like 3 to 5 items, which would be the official classroom rules. Once a visual of these expectations has been created, whether it's a chart or a drawing, we'd have each student sign the paper or contract, agreeing to abide by these rules and to encourage others to do the same. Student involvement in the creation of the rules is key because it forces students to invest in it and to agree to follow the rules, rather than just being told that they must follow these specific guidelines. In order to handle misbehavior, I would initially start by bringing myself close to the proximity, just staying near to the students who are off task or having a little bit more trouble. There's also the option of having behavior charts for students who repeatedly have difficulty with certain things, starting to chart that and have them see patterns for themselves. Think spaces in the classroom are great because they give, whether it's a corner or just a small area, they allow students to take some time to think over what they're doing and how it's affecting them and other students in the room. As I just talked about in the last slide, the expectation rule charts are great as well because you can have students refer back to their assigned name on those charts. Another great thing to do is zones of regulation, which can be used for volume management, behavior management, or emotional gauging. So whether they're feeling like happy or sad or mad, and then you can decide what are the next best steps to take for whatever zone they're in. I would also like to minimize the consequences. And rather than motivating students by fear or by working to avoid something, I would rather have them work towards something they want or something they're excited for. And that doesn't always have to be in the shape of a reward. Sometimes that can just be the intrinsic motivation of wanting to learn and understand something. I promise that I will always follow through on any plans and systems set up for behavior management because consistency is absolutely key in altering behavior. So I will always keep my composure and be consistent. To involve parents in my classroom, I would love to build great relationships with the families in the community and the families of the students in my classroom. And one way to do that would be parent letters home, whether that's weekly or monthly, whatever works best for that specific classroom. Just great ways to let families know what's going on in the classroom and get to know them, and for them to get to know me. I would also like to involve these parents in aspects of the classroom beyond behavioral issues, like reading groups, volunteers for reading to class, guest speakers, helping with the book fair, other activities, chaperones for field trips, just all those random tasks that you need help with. But if there are behavioral issues and parents do need to be contacted about those, it's important to always call and not email or send a letter home. Verbal contact is much more helpful and will help build a positive relationship in spite of those behavioral issues that are being brought up. And just to let the parents know that you really care about their child, you really appreciate their child, and you see the child as more than just their behavioral problems. So this is how I plan to use behavioral management and classroom management in my classroom someday.